I studied photography for 2 years and was left with a big choice. I could go to England with my classmates to finish my bachelor's degree in photography, or say and chase my dream to become the photographer I was aspiring to be. So I bought a ticket to Africa. The worst part about being a perfectionist is that getting shit done takes a long time. And sometimes you didn't even get it done at all, because it's not perfect. Unfortunately, it took me a very long time to understand the meaning of the phrase "done is better than perfect." It actually took me almost 12 years. My whole life I've been obsessed with doing things good and thorough. But sometimes perfection can cripple you to the point where you get absolutely nothing done. Early in my career, I was very inspired by explorers and photographers that travel to remote places of the world to live with and document indigenous tribes or people living in a different way than we do in the Western world. For years, I had a growing urge to go out in the world and do an adventure like that myself. So in 2011, I went to Tanzania with my good friend Christopher, who I don't think he really knew what he was in for, but I think this photo sums up his experience of the whole trip perfectly. After 6 long weeks of traveling dirt roads, sleeping in tents, and shooting non-stop, we went back home. Hard drives filled to the brim with beautiful photographs and a head full of memories to last a lifetime. That was it. I did it. I finished the project. I was so happy and so proud, and I couldn't wait to show the world what we made. Back home, I took my time editing the photos, making sure everything was as good as I wanted it to be. I had plans to make a book, I was going to hold an exhibition, and I was going to make a mini documentary about the whole trip. So I started looking for spaces, I started putting together the book in InDesign, and yeah. As time went on, nothing happened. No book, no exhibition, no documentary, no nothing. I was so emotionally invested in this project that nothing was ever good enough. I wanted to be a pro, and pros didn't just show their work anywhere. So I postponed, I procrastinated, and I started doing other stuff while waiting for the perfect moment to happen. All the while, the best work up to that point in my career was collecting dust on a hard drive. It frustrates me to this day that I never finished the project, for 2 reasons. One, the obvious, that I never showed my best work to anyone, and has been hanging over me like a dark cloud for almost 12 years now. And the second reason is that I really think that if I just finished the project then and there, put it out, showed it to everyone, and stood my ground on whatever feedback or whatever place I had the exhibition or however the documentary turned out, I think I'd really be in a different place in my career right now. Because I think I would continue to make more personal work and have a way different portfolio than what I have today. But there's nothing I can do with it now, so the only thing I can do is to quote Gary Vee.
Looking backwards fucks with your neck.
But today marks a big day, and that's the day I want to show you the best work I did almost 12 years ago. So here's my favorite shots from tribes of Tanzania. The first picture I've chosen is a boy from the Sonyo tribe. We were exploring their village when we found this patch of trees with this magical natural light underneath it, and I knew right away that this was going to be a good one. I took this with only natural light and my favorite portrait lens, the Canon 85mm 1.2. What I love so much about this photo is of course the light that creates those beautiful tones on his face and how it makes the textures on his clothes look very three-dimensional. The color scheme looks great, it's almost like the colors of his clothing imitates the background. I'm also amazed at his expression, it almost feels like we have a conversation without words. The second photo I've chosen is a portrait of a bow maker from the Sandawe tribe. The Sandawe is a hunter-gatherer tribe which lives very remote, and we had to drive through thick thorn bush path to get to their village. We were actually the first white men to ever visit their village, and none of them had ever seen a camera before. The Sandawe was maybe the most welcoming and warming tribe that visited our whole trip to Tanzania. The bow in this photo was handmade for me with a very dull knife, and he wanted me to take a photo of him holding the bow to take home. After receiving this gift, I gave him my brand new, very sharp knife, and he couldn't be happier. I think this photo defines the style I chose for the whole Tanzania project, which was shallow depth of field combined with studio flash and a tiny bit of desaturated colors. And I tried to make all my photos as three-dimensional as possible to have the feeling that the subjects are popping out of the picture frame. Number 3 is a portrait of a grandfather of the Shaori family from the Mbulu tribe. A calm and collected man with a large family. I feel I really captured his stillness and thoughtfulness in this image. After our visit to their home, they gave us a live chicken as a farewell gift. This is one of my clear favorites. The 8-year-old Maasai boy named Nangisha, who every morning by himself led a herd of cows out to pasture, and later in the evening returned with all of them, and he's just 8 years old. Just the raw attitude he expresses in this image gives me the chills. I knew he was going out early, so I set up my flash and took this portrait just as the sun was coming up in the morning. I'll go to Africa and back again just for this one photo. This is a portrait of Buri, a medicine woman from the Wazi tribe. We got to join her as she was collecting plants and herbs for her remedies. In this photo, I used a studio flash with a large octobox right above her head to get the softest, smoothest light as possible, and underexposing the background a little bit. This was also shot with the 85mm at 1.2. This is 3 siblings from the Hadzabe tribe. They're living very remote. They integrate clicking sounds in their language, so when we visited them, we had a translator from English to Swahili and then one from Swahili to that specific clicking language. Their traditional way of getting food is foraging. There's just a couple of hundred Hadza people left that still do that. They told us that getting food now is really hard. They try to hunt, but it's difficult and less animals than there used to be. I really love this photo, but for me it's a bit hard to look at. Especially now having kids myself, because all around their little camp and home, there were empty plastic UN food containers that they were lucky to get every now and then. So food for them is really scarce. I feel the look in their face is a child having to grow up too soon. There's a seriousness to their eyes which makes you understand the reality of their hard way of living. Number 7 is a portrait of an elderly Hadza woman. I think the image speaks for itself, and you can clearly tell that this woman has endured hardship in her life and she don't tolerate any BS. My next photo is of Arusha and Awadi from the Wazi tribe. What I like about this photo is the simplicity of the composition, the symmetry, and the almost eerie feeling they have in their look. I don't know how this one turned out this eerie, because they were happy and smiling during the whole shoot. Many of the tribes that we met never even saw a camera before, so it might have been the whole situation made them a bit anxious. Anyway, definitely one of my favorites. As I told you earlier, the Hadza are hunter-gatherers, and just a couple of days before we arrived to their village, this man had shot a zebra with a bow and poisonous arrow. After killing the zebra, he decided to cut off the mane to make a headpiece out of it. After I shot his portrait, he wanted to exchange my baseball cap for his headpiece, and that I couldn't say no to. Number 10 is 2 photos that I always show together as a diptych. A diptych is a painting or a piece of art made out of 2 parts. As we were walking around the Sanyo village, 20 to 30 kids were following us. I suddenly turned around, and in reflex they just took out their slingshots ready for action. So I snapped these 2 just seconds apart. The sun on their back, dust swirling around them, it just created a magical scene. This one is special to me. It was one of the first portraits I shot on this trip of a young girl from the Makandi tribe. I shot this one on natural light with a diffuser, and I always loved the light and tones on her skin, but it took me a while after I got home to see the extra dimension in this photo. If you look closely on her left arm, she has an extra finger. The last image and my all-time favorite from this project is a portrait of a boy from the Sanyo tribe, and this photo really defines the whole project for me. We were shooting some portraits, and suddenly I thought that I should use the feather on his head for what it's worth. So I had him turn to the side, used the diffuser between him and the sun on the right side, and then snapped off a couple of shots at 1.2. And this was the result. I remember being so happy and stoked when I captured this, and I really felt that I was doing what I was meant to be doing. I hope you found some value and inspiration in this video, and if you have a project that you're passionate about or something that you're dying to do, please just go for it. And don't take my example and postpone it for 12 years. Don't be scared. Don't be crippled by opportunity. Make it happen and show the world. Peace.